right?
Now, was it difficult to make that decision to leave the UFC? Because you were, coming off of a very close, controversial loss to Henry Cejudo. Very close fight.
Yeah.
It was like mostly the wrestling. It was a couple takedowns that he got.
Yeah, it was a couple takedowns, and I think I relied too much on leg kicks. Like in that fight, I couldn't get him down to the ground. The striking seemed on the feet, like with the hands, it seemed like it was pretty even. I think I outlanded him, like when you look at the strike copy block strike numbers. But I felt like I relied too much on the leg kicks because I was fucking tearing those legs up. Like,
well, you hurt his leg real bad in that first round.
Yes.
He got that drop foot thing going on.
Yep. He had the drop thing going on, but I was like, I couldn't get there with the hands, right? I couldn't knock him with the hands. So I was like, I'm gonna tear your leg up. Kept on tearing the leg up, and when the fight ended, and I was like, he probably got it. I was like, he beat me. And then they read the scorecard, and I was like, it is what it is. Like, what are you gonna do? So what
was the decision after that? Like, what was that like?
So it was frustrating. But then, at the time I was like, I wonder if I can do something different, right? Because I was going in the back, and at the time Maki was in managing me. He still is, first round managing is. And I was like, he was like, you tell me what you want to do, bro. You just let me know, and we'll figure it out. And I was like, I wonder if I get out of my contract. I was like, try to do something different. Because at the time, I looked at it this way. If I were to fight Henry Cejudo again for the third time, it could have gone either two ways. One, I beat Henry, then I'm still stuck in the same situation I am right now when at the time they're trying to they were in talks about getting rid of the flyweight division, right? Or two, if I lose to Henry, then I'm still stuck in the same position. I just lost to him again. So why not see if I can go explore other options, right? And then that's when the trade talks came about.
And so the UFC just said, fine, go ahead?
Well, there was more to it, right? I mean, obviously, Chacha just talked about it. It was I heard you had something to do with it as well. Like,
really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What did I have to do with it?
Well, I'll get to that point. So obviously, they wanted Ben Askren has been wanting to fight in the UFC for a long time, right? And then so one championship and UFC were talking back and forth between Hunter and Matt Hume and Maki. So they're like, hey, let's do a trade, right? Like, we'll give you Ben Askren for Demetrious Johnson. Oh. And then at one point I heard that, Dana was like, nah, I don't want to make that happen, right? I don't know the full, I'm not in the room where all the puzzle pieces are being shifted. Mm-hmm. And then I was hanging out somewhere, and then somebody said, Joe Rogan had a piece in that. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah. And I was told that you kind of convinced him. I'm like, who gives a shit? Like, just get Ben Askren or something like that. So, yeah, I know, right? So
that's not really accurate. No, I definitely was trying to get them to get Ben Askren, but I was trying to get them to get Ben Askren back when he was at Bellator, when he was in his prime.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, man, this guy is wrestle fucking everybody. Yeah. I want to see if he could do that to the whole division. Like, when Ben was in his prime, when he did that to Koreskov, when he did that to Douglas Lima, I was like, you got to understand how crazy this is, that this guy can do this to everybody.
Yeah.
People say, oh, it's boring. Like, no.
It's fighting.
No. It's fighting.
Yep.
This guy is imposing his style on these murderers.
Yeah.
I mean, Koreskov was a murderer, and Douglas Lima is a fucking savage.
Yep.
And he was just ragdolling these dudes and doing it in weird ways.
I remember he has a funky style about doing things. And I remember somebody said he was training with him, and he was able to twist and turn a certain way to where if a normal human being would do it, they would like tear their cartilage in their ribs. And he was able to do that and bring him back to where he was. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's a freak right there.
Well, he's always wrestled like that because he's not like a physically imposing guy. I'm sure he's very strong because he's been wrestling his whole life. But his style was always like this weird style that was very difficult for people to understand. So they would try to like do traditional shit with him, and then all of a sudden they'd be on their back.
Yeah, it just didn't work.
By the time we got him, though, he was already fucked up. Like, he needed a hip replacement.
And he was already retired. Yeah. Right, and so that's what I heard. And so when they wanted to do that trade, they're like, "Yeah, we'll take Demetrious over Ben because Demetrious is still active and he's still, still." I always look at myself as a workhorse, right? Like, you're paying me to fight, I'm going to fight, right? And so I think it was a no-brainer for them, and that's how it happened.